That's what I'm saying. I'm not
No,
saying it's gonna be easy, but you're saying that as if, oh, you're writing him off. It's done.
What's up, guys? Football Saddos here. Welcome to another video. And I think, we've got a Chelsea fan, a Tottenham fan, and a United fan, and we all have one thing in common, and that is Jose Mourinho used to be our manager, used to be Man United's manager, and he is currently the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. And just before we start, if you're new here, please make sure to hit like, subscribe, and the bell notification button for more content, basically. So, yeah, pretty much. Dan, we'll start with you. Obviously, in other videos, we've talked about how Mourinho is doing for Spurs. But do you think he has a long, sort of like a future at Spurs? You know, look 3 years forward. Is he still going to be here?
The honest answer to that is I don't know. Obviously, history will tell us that no, he won't. You know, he's at a club either until he gets sacked or for like 2 or 3 years. We're in his now second season, but he didn't have a full first season, so that throws up in the air a little bit. Everything we hear from him, I honestly, my memory fails, but I can't remember if it was the same when he spoke in other clubs. But everything we hear is about that he does have like a long-term plan here and that he may, in fact, want to stay after his contract. But honestly, at this point, it's hard to say whether he'll get to the end of his contract because I'm not saying we are going to sack him, but it's already been highly reported that we're interested in Julian Nagelsmann. So I think it largely depends on how the rest of the season goes. Part of me tells me that if we do not get Champions League football, that he might just be gone, even if we get a trophy. So that basically means he has to either make top 4, which I don't think will happen. Personally, there's a chance. There's definitely a mathematical chance of all the teams dropping points. But do you trust us not to drop more points than the others? I don't. Or we have to win Europa League, which he's done it twice before. It's possible, but is it realistically going to happen? You know, we're one of the favourites, but as long as teams are like United and Arsenal and Milan are in there, although obviously one of them are going out, that's going to be a difficult task. So I don't know whether he's going to stay. I'm personally, I am a fan of him, but I'm not pressed either way. So I guess we'll see. The thought of Nagelsmann, as much as I want trophies, and I know that as much as he might be decried, he is still one of the best managers in the world at just getting trophies by hook or by crook. And I don't want to sound like I'm, above my station or nothing, but the thought of Nagelsmann does excite me as like a kind of young manager with a plan and everything. So we're just going to have to see.
I know that a big argument at Spurs is that, it isn't necessarily on just Mourinho, but you have a big surplus of players that aren't kind of, don't fit, I don't know, his style or just aren't good enough to play. I guess if you do bring another manager, you'll just have the same problem because, you're going to have to change players initially. That's
the thing. There's arguments about a lot of players in the squad. I think our attack is relatively sorted, and I don't have many issues about that. Especially if we're going to keep Bale and if he's going to stay in the form he is. Our midfield, I think the starters are good enough. Maybe some issues with depth. A lot of people think Winks isn't good enough. I'm erring more to that side now. I'm starting to look down on him a bit. Sissoko is aging, and some could argue he's not good enough. So Midfield is overall all right. It's just the defense. The defense is the main thing. And that's why I am unsure. And, I'm not pressed either way. But I do still think that if we'd signed a centre-back like Diaz or Skriniar in summer, like it was reported we were trying to, then I think we'd be a lot higher on the table than we are right now. But it just makes me think that if we sort the defence, the thing that he needs to have a strong defence at a club, then I think we'd actually be sorted. But it is what it is. And we're stuck with players like Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer, who, I was actually a bit of a fan of Eric Dyer in the season, and he was playing well. He was in good form, but it's been shown that our defense isn't good enough. And in the Jose Mourinho team, that doesn't really run.
Well, it wouldn't be a sort of discussion debate about Mourinho without a Man United fan. Dev, you have sort of differing thoughts about Mourinho, don't you?
Your old ex, mate.
Yeah, I did legit. But the thing was, like, I was pissed off when we got him. Like when he came to United, I just knew from the get-go it wasn't the right decision. And I kind of have a similar feeling towards Tottenham because of how the two teams structure themselves. And it's not the same sort of management approach, but we have owners who are hands-off, who don't really care about the fans. They haven't aligned themselves with fans. They're willing to put money in, provided it's a commercial-minded investment, which is why he got the money for Ibra and Pogba, didn't get the money for Diaz himself or even Mahrez, who he was after. So I'm surprised that after experience with Ed Woodward and the Glazers and everyone at Man United, that he decided to go to Spurs. And it doesn't surprise me when, not gonna lie, when he battered us, when we lost 6-1, when they were top of the league, everyone was saying stuff. I just kept quiet because there was no point even engaging, because I know what Mourinho is like, and he's a winner, a perennial winner. No one can doubt that he's an incredible manager with great pedigree. But as the time has gone on, he stays where he is as the time progresses past him. And Spurs have stayed the same, but other teams have adapted and they're doing better than them. And it's the exact same with us. And when he came second, that was a false dawn. We didn't play well that season. No one really played well that season except Man City. And somehow we got second. Our team was subpar. We could compare that team to this Spurs team. And that Spurs team probably batters us easy, all over the pitch, except probably in goal, because that's when De Gea was consistent. But all of these different things that he does, for me, the issue with him was always how he presents himself to the media, to the fans, and what he says and everything. I get being cocky and arrogant is part of his flair, but when you don't win, you just look like an idiot. And I respect what he's done, but he's not winning, and he says things as if he is winning all the time. He's not.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you before.
I think just want to say, I think that's a little bit harsh. Like I said, I'm not happy with how our season's going particularly, but I think that's because I've had high expectations. If you look at it for what it is, we're in a cup final, which is more than Ollie can say. We're still in the Europa League. Yes, we got knocked out of the FA Cup. That sucks, but it happens. We're still in 3 competitions, and we're what? I think we're like 4 points off top 4 with a game in hand. Sorry, it's 6 points of top 4 with a game in hand. It isn't the end of the world whatsoever. It's not like he's failing. And especially if you add in the cup competitions, he's doing, you could say, quite well. It's just that we have those higher expectations. And I think especially with the squad and the defense he has, I think he, if anything, might be overperforming because you just think more and more that our defense is not good enough. I think any manager would struggle with it. So I think it's a little bit harsh to say he's not winning. Yes, he's not winning a league or anything, but only City is.
The only reason I say that is because each manager should kind of know where their team is at and reflect that. And that's why I think Mourinho fails a little bit, because where he's been and when he has overachieved and done things, he's said those things once he's been top of the league and done incredible things and has achieved things that no one expected he would. So fair enough, the cup final with against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got knocked out by Manchester City, and I'd be surprised if you beat them. If you beat them, fair enough. But Man City
we've already beaten them twice in his reign.
Yeah, but Man City are like...
with worse players.
Yeah, but look at Man City now.
We beat them without a striker, mate. We beat them without a striker.
Dan, look at Man City right now.
21 wins on the bounce.
They've conceded 12 goals.
So you're saying that Mourinho in a cup final has no hope? Even though it's
I didn't say he has no hope.
This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you're saying that as if you're writing him off. It's done.
No, I'm not. I didn't say that at all. The point is, it's going to be tough for him. But to say, like, because you made the comparison with him and Ollie, saying he's got to a cup final, which is more than Ollie could have done. Ollie got knocked out by Pep City as they were on the rise, which you're now reading the peak of. So if you beat him, fair enough, then I can't say anything. Fair play. But he's in a final when you beat Brentford in a semi-final isn't the same as when we had to get through Man City.
We also had to beat Chelsea in that run when they were on a great run.
We had to beat the best team in England right now. So if you beat him and you win,
this is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how you get to a cup final. It's how you get there. This is what I'm saying. I'm not even making a point about Ollie and City. I'm just using that as an example. That Ollie's had a much longer tenure at United than Jose has had at Spurs, and Ollie hasn't got to a single cup final, including in the Europa League.
But would you say Ollie's failed in that?
So far, yes. Because but this is what I'm saying. You're saying that he's not winning and so on. And one of the big things about Mourinho is you get him in for a trophy. Yeah. And all this, I'm just using United as an example because they're obviously his most recent club, and because not necessarily you, but a lot of United fans still don't shut up about Mourinho, and all of them decree Mourinho, and say that it doesn't matter that he got him the Community Shield and that he got you the League Cup and that he got the Europa League, but you've got no cup since Ollie's come in, haven't even got to a final. And you just look at top four as a success when, like I said, second isn't an achievement, but with that squad and where it was to get second and to win those cups, it was. So like I said, I just think he gets a bit of a bad rap. I don't think he's still, the best manager in the world or anything like that. But like I said, I think you're just being very harsh on a manager who's still more recently done more for your club than your current manager.
No, I think that's fair. But the thing that I pointed to twice was his decorum and how he acts as a manager and what he does to the fans and how he makes the fans feel. Because that is because Man United haven't got much to write home about right now, but I guarantee the reason why all of them would back Oli right now ahead of having Mourinho back, let's say, even though Mourinho has won way more than Oli hasn't won anything, but Mourinho has won more and has done a lot better things than Oli, is because we play better football under Oli. There's no doubt in that. We're the highest. Yes, we are the highest. One of the highest, worst defense in the league, but we are the best attack in the league, shortly behind City, who overtook us yesterday. So we have played better under Oli, and we play a much better brand of football. But then when things go wrong, Oli knows a little bit better what to say than what Mourinho did, because Mourinho called out 8 of our players. And that, to me, is unacceptable. As a manager, you shouldn't be doing that. Like when Tuchel did that thing against Callum Hudson-Odoi, I thought that was deplorable for a top-level manager. And when Mourinho did the same for Pogba, he even tried to call out Ibra, then Ibra had to go back at him, calling out Luke Shaw for being fat and then finding out he's got an issue. It's like, don't do that. That's why Man United fans don't like him. It's not more about what he did for the club and how we played. Those are elements, but it's how he was. That's what we remember.
But talking about Spurs, because obviously where he is right now, some people could make the argument that he's been like that about Ndombele, but if anything, that's made Ndombele play a lot better. And overall, he hasn't been that same kind of Mourinho. I think a lot of people who still talk about him as if he's in this way don't even listen to his press conferences. Yes, he makes some jokes here and there.
Yeah, that's just who he is.
He's not the same kind of guy in terms of how he presents himself. It's just not. If anything, Spurs fans who do try and dig him out for saying things have to really grasp at straws, because he doesn't really act like that anymore here at Spurs. Now, obviously, that depends on the point you're trying to argue, but in terms of his demeanor and so on, that's not the same anymore. Yes, it was probably relevant at United, but it's not relevant at Spurs.
You mentioned that point about Ndombele and comments Mourinho may have made about Ndombele and his performance and that would affect him. I remember watching a interview with Frank Lampard before, when he was, I think, a presenter for Sky. And I remember him saying Pogba's a fantastic player and whatnot. You can see the video on YouTube. And then he said that Mourinho must have left Pogba out the squad or taken him off early because that's just Mourinho's way of management, and maybe Pogba didn't necessarily respond to it correctly. So I mean, you can look at it in different ways. I mean, maybe his methods of management are very unorthodox, but it's sort of like classic Mourinho.
Yeah, he has a very specific style of man management. But once again, I think this is something which gets overblown with Mourinho. You can look at most managers in the world, and they have a style, obviously, of keeping players on side. Some are better at it than others. But everyone's got their own style, and not everyone's going to be happy about it. Like I said, look at Lampard, look at Tuchel recently, look at Poch. Poch didn't keep everyone on side. I love Poch, and a lot of people loved him, but he didn't keep everyone in the dressing room happy. There were people who very blatantly did. Toby Alderweireld refused to sign a contract to still play under him until Mourinho came in. Mourinho has a very specific style of man management, and you've seen interviews from players in the past. Who is it? I remember one of the Inter players who said that he'd only play on a specific position for Mourinho, and when a new manager came in and asked him to play there,
I think it was Eto'o.
Eto'o, wasn't it? Was it Eto'o? Yeah, and he said he wouldn't do it for a new manager that came in. There are players; it's not just fans. There are players who religiously, who religiously adhere to Mourinho and who will praise him. Praise him till the world ends. And I think that's just the way with managers. Once again, I think that's something that gets overblown with Mourinho, perhaps because of how he's come across in the media previously. And like I said, it doesn't work for all players, but the players who do, you see them benefit. And I've seen that firsthand with Ndombele. There are other factors at play. I remember Daniel Levy was very insistent about how he wanted to keep him. But for better or worse, you have to say that those methods made Ndombele stronger. And there's arguments from being one of the best midfielders in the league. His methods can work. I once again, it's something I think it gets overblown just because of Mourinho.
Yeah, I think it's fair. The only thing that I would say is Man United fans will always have that view of Mourinho because we've had the full cycle. We've seen the beginning to the end. Whereas it's difficult for like if it was switched and he was shit for Spurs and he was like well, not shit, but like he left a bad taste in the Spurs fans' mouth. That's a weird thing to picture. And then he comes to United, and then he's kind of ascended. He's done well, but now he's going through a trough, and he's still being stereotypical Mourinho and getting on the backs of certain fans and certain players and doing all that kind of stuff. Then I might have a different opinion. But I think he was at like nearly 150 games for Manchester United, and he did win some cups and he did do well in certain areas, but there were parts, and it's happened throughout his career. He was at Chelsea twice, and the first time he left Chelsea, I don't blame him. The second time, we don't know. Real Madrid, there was definitely some crap going on there. Inter was probably for me his best ever spell. Porto, he did what he did there, but then there always seems to be an issue with him going to all these specific clubs. As soon as something goes wrong and then his management start to get away with it, it's more relying on his status and getting another job rather than sticking it out and seeing it through. So as a Spurs fan, do you think he's going to stick it out and see it through?
Is he going to stay or as opposed to getting sacked? Yeah. I think he would like to. Partly, and like I said, I don't think that certain players in our defense are good enough, but this might just be me being cocky, but I don't think there's many managers in the world who would not want to manage players like Harry Kane, Son Heung-min, Tanguy Ndombele, Gareth Bale if he stays with us. There's not many managers who would turn that down because the attacking potential is insane, and that's been shown at points throughout the season that when our attack's on point, there's not much better. I think he would want to stay, especially if he does get like at least a defender or two. God, we're crying out for centre backs.
Join the club.
But like I said, I just wonder if we don't get Champions League football, he will get sacked. And like I said, I loved Poch. I do like Mourinho. I do like him. I'm not one of these Spurs fans who hate him just because he was at Chelsea and this and that. But I wouldn't be heartbroken if he left. Like I said, the thought of negativism does excite me, but I would be annoyed if he hasn't at least got us a trophy. Because that's what you get him for. That's what you're signing up for Mourinho. And I just want to make an extra point that I think a lot of times when people talk about Mourinho, it's because he has high expectations. That's the thing. He has really high expectations because of what he's achieved throughout his career. So Mourinho can be having a decent or a good season, and the media will still just jump on him because he's done it better elsewhere and stuff, and they'll go, and you always make these comparisons about like, oh, it's not like his team from Inter or his team from Real Madrid and stuff like that. And it's why like I get the kind of personal aspect of how he spoke about certain players and how he composed himself, but like at United he was categorically your best manager since Fergie, and yet fans hate him.
Yeah, I mean there is a reason for that, and the whole point of it is just to summarize my point is that there is a disconnect sometimes in football between how a team plays and the results they get, the performances they put in, statistics they get on the board, how they make the fans feel, and how the fans ought to feel about them. And one thing I've never done when he was at Man United, I didn't care what he did at Chelsea, at Real Madrid, because we weren't at that level to get that sort of result from him. So I'd be surprised if any Man United fan feels that way. But we did have good amounts of money in there. And then when we did have Ibra and Pogba, that was his go-to. That's what worked for him because that's what he did about the style of play that Manchester United were. It was just get it up to Ibra and see if he can do what he can do. And then when Ibra got injured, we were screwed. Like that was the part of the bit that made people think we should.
Does that sound familiar, Dan?
Get it up to Kane and Son.
No, what I will say is when he joined Chelsea in the run when he was at Porto, he was Mr. Unpredictable, okay? Yeah. And I was saying to Deb before stream, now I feel like he's been so unpredictable the whole of his career that now his former strengths and now his weaknesses. But I know he switched to 3 at the back. I know that now. I think again in the last game he played against Burnley. I think he played Lucas behind. Kane behind Lucas.
No. Kane was still at striker, but Lucas was playing in that kind of number 10 role. It's a bit weird because it's a bit of a kind of like a free flowing interchanging front four when we have played Lucas. It has. I think Lucas has played there in the previous couple of games as well.
Against even Ajax, I think Poch played
Ajax,
in
I
there.
was going to say, yeah.
Of Fiorente.
Yeah, at Ajax, the thing that was the difference, because I don't think Llorente started the second leg, and if I remember correctly, he brought on Llorente, and it changed the game because Llorente was just constantly knocking it down to Lucas and stuff like that. And that's with how it's difficult to go off because obviously we were on a bad losing streak, and we've only just won our last game against Burnley. But with how it seems we want to play there, is Kane as the focal point who occasionally drops deep. But he didn't drop deep nearly as much because Bale was dropping deep at points and playing that like if you saw the goals, I don't know if you've seen the highlights from the game.
The second goal,
Bale pretty much from middle of in our half, he takes the ball off of Aurier, and he just looks up and plays like with his left foot an absolute killer pass up the field to set Kane free on the left. Because at times what happened is Kane would kind of drift to the left and Son would move to that striker position.
Yeah.
And Kane would try and play balls. Send Kane free on the left, and Kane just cut in and shot and scored. Took a slight deflection, but it was a wonderful goal.
I now remember that. Yeah.
But a couple other times in the game, Bale was backing himself and making those runs on the right. And that's how he scored 2 goals. The first goal came from him slipping in front of Kane, further on the left in the striker position to receive the ball from Son. And then the late one was him keeping up with Son on the counter attack to just cut in and do what he does, send that left-footed shot in the bottom corner. And this is the thing. I think that earlier on in the season, we had the best attack in the league, and we scored the most amount of goals in the league because the Son-Kane duo was just destroying everyone. The only team I remember that he didn't destroy was Chelsea's, because they just did what a lot of teams then started to do, where they would basically double down on Kane and kind of make sure he can't get those passes to Son and kind of isolate Son, so it worked out. Yeah,
but that is what you would do.
But the problem is, I don't think this is particularly Mourinho's fault, because it's difficult to offset that when the third attacker in that system isn't being kind of unpredictable and isn't doing much, because they were the 2 main attackers, and you kind of that's where people are saying, "Oh, just give it up to Kane and Son and hope." But now we've got Bale. Or if we've got, because even Lamella's played well in recent times, just someone offering something else on that right-hand side, they don't know who to mark. And that happened at times of that game, but they were marking Kane and Son, and Bale was just left free. So this is the thing. I don't think that's a long roundabout way of saying, I don't think he necessarily still plays dinosaur football. I think at times he asks us to defend when we're not capable, perhaps, and I do think that is a problem of his. But my hope is, and it's just one game, but we'll see, with that third attacker of Bale there, and maybe with either Lucas running, because I thought Lucas is great in that 10 role, actually, because he wasn't just refined to one side, and he could kind of use his pace on the counter. He had some good dribbling and just kind of act as a catalyst to a lot of moves, and he had that pace to get us up the field. I'm hoping that our attack will be a lot more dynamic like that, because it was wonderful to watch in the Burnley game. I don't think he's just capable of doing dinosaur football. I just think it depends on his personnel.
Well, yeah, with Gareth Bale back, I think now it takes the weight off Kane's shoulders to drop so deep.
And also, it offers more competition to Kane, because Kane wants to be the star man. You've seen that at times where it's almost like him and Son are trying to outshine each other. Obviously, it's all a lovely friendly partnership and all that. But Bale offering that other option, I think, is just going to work out wonders, because Kane doesn't want Bale to steal the show. Bale obviously wants to steal the show. It does excite me, but we'll see how it goes, to be honest.
Of course. And Debbie, we're going to say something?
Yeah, just kind of as like a closing statement from me. It is we've spoken about things that aren't really quantifiable in footballing terms, which is why Man United will feel the same way about Mourinho.
It's emotional, isn't it? It's emotional.
It has to be, because that's what football is about. And Mourinho, when he came to Chelsea, he is an emotional guy. Like, we all know that. But none of us are saying that he's lost a certain aspect of him, because you've seen the documentary, he's still fiery, he's still this, he's still that. What I don't like, though, is that there has come a point where he doesn't take as many risks as he used to. And now that he's got Bale and he's trying things out with Moura and Lamela, we might be able to see a bit more. But when he did play at Chelsea, he played with a lone striker most of the time. Admittedly, it was Didier Drogba, but he allowed Robin and he allowed Duff and he allowed all these players and Lampard to venture forward
Let's
and
not
become
forget
the
Costa and Fabregas as well.
yeah. But he allowed things like Lampard to venture forward, becoming the best goal-scoring midfielder. Inter became probably the best Italian team almost ever by winning the treble. Real Madrid were as good as I've ever seen them. That's how we know about Marcelo and about Ronaldo. Then he came back to Chelsea. We saw the Fabregas and Costa and it went well. Then we saw the first element of Park the Bus in 2015 with Liverpool towards the end of the season. Then he came to Manchester United, cemented that legacy. And now it's not like it's over a small period of time. He left you guys 5 years ago. And this is over 5 years where it has peaked and troughed like that, which he hasn't been used to. And it's annoying for me because I'd like him as a manager because he's got a great legacy. But when he came to us, there wasn't that element of taking risks and trying. Maybe it's because Woodward and everyone told him not to for the sake of winning a trophy. But I hope, and I don't think Levy's the kind of guy who wants to allow him to take the risk. If it means
he took a risk with
sacrificing
Fellaini
a
up front,
trophy.
didn't he?
That was not a risk. It's not a risk. He needed a big lump. That was the worst thing he could have done. But that's what I'm wary of. So I'm hoping that, you know, he doesn't end his legacy at Spurs the way he ended it with Man United. Because if that happens, we might run the risk of losing one of the best managerial legacies of all time.
Very quickly.
I just hope he doesn't leave us without a trophy. That would be awful.
Exactly.
Very, very quickly.
Levy, loosen the purse strings.
Before we end, if you're Jose Mourinho and you're not at Spurs anymore, what's your next move?
England national team. Let's do it.
Imagine.
There were rumours about it a long time ago, but
Yeah, he wouldn't go
I'd be so
international.
down for it.
it would. I tell you what, it would be a spectacle. But I don't. See
It would be glorious.
It would
I think.
be,
Lump Eric Dyer up front. Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire strike partnership.
Yeah,
I mean, how old is Mourinho now, roughly?
he's probably around.
50, I think he's in his 50s.
Is he too late for a Porto Renaissance?
He's 58 years old.
I'd be surprised if I didn't see him in this Serie A if he were to leave. I feel like it suits him a little bit better. Maybe back at Inter, or maybe like if the current regime doesn't go too well, if they don't win the league this year particularly. But I sense he'd go back to Porto. I don't know why. I've always
Him
got a
and
feeling
Poch can swap positions.
he'd love
throw-
I want Nagelsmann after Jose.
Just
I
as
want
a funny
Yeah.
little twist, I'd like to throw my suggestion. I'd like to see him take on a Sunday League team.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And
Lovely stuff.
and
He should take over Marine.
Marine. Yeah, yeah. Fine.
Spencer, I hope you're watching. Get him in fashion. That'd be fun.
Yeah, call him. Right. That was our actually quite a fiery debate about Mourinho, I think, between Dan and Dev. If you enjoyed that, hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends.
Hit the
watch
bell.
it. Hit the bell as always, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Nice.
Boom. 30 minutes
Lovely
exactly.
stuff.
You got it, Idan.
I think we
so
were
you-
just
are you-
walking at the first few minutes, so it's just, I think
Yeah,
it's like 25.
exactly. So it's more like kind of 25 minutes, and then if you want to just take good bits or whatever, or cut a couple of bits out, then I think that'll work well.
Because I had an
I
idea for a thumbnail on like me on one side, Dan on one, and then Mourinho in the middle, just kind of like in a boxing pose or something like that. Ugh. But yeah, is Sam the one recording it, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, I think he meant. Wait, is he? He's not recording his own video.
No,
as in
it's,
this.
I think there's this meme that we always say to each other. I think it's in the video. I'm a prefect. I think he goes, "Why are you recording?"
I'm a
or something
prefect.
like that.
I'm
think it's that.
prefect. Move like it's World War III.
Oh,
Oh my god. Literally,
I
whilst
think-
I, was
I
on
think that was-
I didn't clock.
Yeah.
But so this is my phone case.
Yeah.
Yeah, this just fell off this bit.
Oh,
I really
Lit.
need to get a new phone case, mate.
I think
I've
that
literally ordered a new
video
phone. I'll have
was-
to get a new phone case with it.
I think that video was. We can nearly upload it uncut.